So I don't know whether to save this for the show or not, but I had an epiphany during the Diablo 3 segment, or 4, Diablo 4. They announced like the new classes, or the new class, right? And then they went through one of the developers was on stage talking about the classes in Diablo. And he got to the end, the last one, and said the powerful druid. And I was like, druid? Why does that sound familiar? Why do I know? Oh my god, I know where Andy got his name. And it like, the light bulb went off. And for years, I never knew where it came from until just then.
That's the first time you've heard of a druid?
Probably not the first time I've heard of it, but the first time like I connected the dots. So I don't know how many years you've had that name, but it's taken that long up until Sunday that I finally figured it out.
It was pretty much my first moniker. So. Well, I'm glad you validated it in your own head now.
Well, that's what I mean. Like then at the same time, I felt so ashamed. I was like, how many years have I known Andy, and it took me this fucking long? Like, so anyway, yeah, that was my light bulb moment.
I'm gonna introduce myself as, nice. And I am the druid. I play as the druid.
Yeah, I mean, if every game like that, if that is an option that you don't pick the druid, then what are you doing with your life? Hello and welcome to another episode of Bry Guy and his Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is someone who is still asking, where the fuck is my Skull and Bones game? Andy Stoles.
What's up, podcast people?
Next up, he's our very own Resident Evil, Mike Bradley.
I'll take it.
Lastly, the scorniest scorn that has ever scorned, Ian Leidick.
I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a frog churning butter.
That's great. Oh god. All right. So for this episode, we're gonna dive into some video game announcements. So we had this past week had a bunch of digital events to check out. So we had Sony's State of Play for PlayStation. Jeff Keighley kicked off Summer Game Fest with an event. We had the Xbox Bethesda Game Showcase a couple days ago. And one of the things that we didn't get this year that we typically do around this time is E3. E3 is usually one of the big video game conventions that reveals a whole bunch of announcements and stuff, but E3 has been struggling lately. Companies have been pulling out, doing their own events, so this year's E3 was canceled. I don't know if it's coming back. We'll see if they regroup next year and actually try to do something. I don't know if it'll be in-person event, digital event. It's all kind of up in the air.
It's only coming back if Phil wants it to.
Yeah, we'll see.
He's on the board.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. Some other companies I think around this time that typically have done their own events that I don't think have, or at least canceled theirs. The two big ones that I can think of, EA and Ubisoft. EA has done their EA Play Live event the last few years. They cited this year that things were just not lining up for their release schedule, so they didn't have enough stuff to show, so they did not do one this year. So we'll see if
they still don't have Skull and Bones going.
Is that EA?
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, I think, has the yeah, that was supposed to be theirs.
Mixed them up.
EA already released the Season 1 trailer for Battlefield, and people were already pissed, so they're like, fuck.
Yeah.
I guess Madden?
Well,
footy? You want some footy?
I was curious if, like, these guys would just be part of, like, the Summer Game Fest stuff, because that stuff goes from, like, June through August with random little events here and there, or developer sit-downs and stuff like that. EA is listed as a partner for Summer Game Fest, so there's a chance we could get some EA stuff over the course of the next couple months, but I don't know. I tried to look at Summer Game Fest like schedule of events, but they don't have too much listed right now. They cover like the month of June, and then after that it's kind of up in the air. So I don't know if we're going to get something from EA in July or August, but maybe we'll hear some
season
stuff.
Trailer.
What was that?
Apex season trailer.
Yeah, maybe. Ubisoft, I don't think, looking at the list of partners, they are not listed as a partner for Summer Game Fest. So I don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't know if they're planning their own thing, if they're just don't have anything to announce, they're not doing anything. I have no idea.
They had a thing today, actually. It was an Assassin's Creed thing, specifically today. I didn't watch any of it, but I saw that it was advertised as like starting in 20 minutes or something when I was browsing through YouTube. There was some event they were having today centered around Assassin's Creed.
So maybe that's what they'll do. Maybe they'll do just little pocket things around specific franchises or IPs that they have and kind of go from there. So either way, I think... Go ahead.
So Ubisoft just teased that they might announce a new Assassin's Creed in September.
That they might.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much all, like, that's their big announcement is Assassin's Creed stuff.
Well,
and
there's that Rainbow Six game that got the beta that kind of sucked, that team-based shooter one.
Oh, Extraction?
Was that a beta?
It was like an early access thing, beta.
You're not talking about Extraction. You're talking about
not
else.
Extraction. It was the team-based, like, hero shooter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. I remember seeing that.
Flopped pretty hard. People didn't like it. Extraction technically still exists. No one talks about it. Rainbow Six Siege still doing numbers somehow.
Yeah.
For Honor still gets updates.
Yeah, I mean they have
that was
some
even Ubisoft.
They have some games they're supporting for sure. I mean they still make money off Just Dance. That's their franchise too that they still put out. That they were doing yearly. I don't know if they still are.
I'll check Amaranth's stream. Far Cry.
Oh yeah, Far Cry. Yeah, that's true. So they have stuff. I just don't know, I guess, what they're due out for over the next year or next 6 months that they want to talk about.
Maybe another, like, sexual harassment story is about to leak for them.
Every studio seems to be hitting with those already. All right, so all things aside, like we've done with some of the E3 and Summer Game Fest shows in the past, since those events have so many announcements and reveals, there's no way we're going to try to take the time to cover everything. So what we've done the last couple of years is basically each of us picks 3 games that most appeal to us from any of the events we've seen so far, and then we just kind of talk about them. I think the one question I was going to ask you guys maybe before we even get started, and I was thinking about this recently, so I just kind of threw it in my little outline, but like out of the events we saw, I think there was some games that I sort of expected to see that we didn't. Was there anything else that caught your guys' attention that you were expecting to see or thought we might hear some words from that they weren't anywhere to be seen? Like the big ones for me, like God of War Ragnarok, I'm surprised was not in the state of play for PlayStation. They didn't talk about that one. Like the Xbox event didn't give any updates on Gears of War. We didn't get anything from, not that I don't think Halo has anything really big going on, but we didn't get any big announcements or reveals for Halo, which is a big franchise for them.
Well, they listed Season 3's coming out in the next 12 months.
And apparently they don't care if it's not part of the show, or at least not enough to talk about. I don't know. Maybe they don't even know what they're doing for the next season yet. I don't know.
I would have liked to have seen something for, oh, God, cut me. Stalker 2 or 3, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Stalker
Okay.
they're on. But I can't remember. They might be impacted by the Ukrainian situation. I can't remember where they're actually located.
Well, the thing about today, we're recording this on the 14th of June, which is 2 days after Xbox's event. Xbox had another extended showcase today, sometime this afternoon. I thought I saw some Stalker stuff come out of that. I didn't watch that show. I just happened to see like some new Stalker videos hit Xbox's YouTube channel when I was trying to scroll through what was announced over the weekend. So there might be some new details on that we'd have to go back and check. I don't know if it was so much as like a release date or anything like that, but we might have got some new details. Andy, anything else you're looking forward to besides Skull and Bones, or are you still waiting for some Skull and Bones stuff?
I'd like to see some more Skull and Bones stuff. I feel like they haven't sent anything like even remotely polished yet, other than just like ideas and themes. But
well, they confirmed it's still in development, right? It's not canceled.
It's not canceled.
Like you and I looked at that on Twitter. I think that they confirmed they're still working on this thing.
Yeah, like they're like, it's coming out, guys. Like, okay, good to know. It's in development hell. The other one that I was sort of shocked that they didn't even give like any kind of inkling towards was the Elder Scrolls 6.
Okay, yeah.
I would have thought we would have gotten just a little bit of just a little tidbit, because I mean that's what Todd Howard likes to do. He likes to just like give you a little breadcrumb and like have you feast on it for 3.5 years.
I think the only reason we know they confirmed it is because people were like, are they gonna make another one? And Todd's like, I guess I gotta fucking tell these retards we're making another one. Otherwise I don't think they would have announced it still. Todd did confirm I think to IGN or someone else. They're making Fallout 5.
Which is expected. Yeah.
Yes, like I said, I'm not stunned. It's not going to come out till 2033, but they're making it. We'll see. The only way it comes out sooner is if now that Microsoft fully being in control, they're like, we all make Bethesda games now. It's like throws Obsidian or someone at it too.
Yeah.
Now that Grounded might be wrapping up. I don't know how that's going to be a full-on gas game, or they're going to be done once that's released.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a live service type of thing or not. If they're planning like other updates and stuff after the fact, or if this is the shipped finished product and have fun with it.
Fallout 5 is going to be good. I was pretty disappointed with the Fallout 76 and how it was more like Ark than actual Fallout. So
yeah,
it just didn't really appeal to me at all.
Hopefully they learned from that.
Yeah.
Fallout 76 is going back to Pittsburgh. Did you see that? Getting DLC or a content update for the pit.
Oh, yeah. I know people still play it, and I think it does have like a bit of a fan base or whatever, but it's not my bag, baby.
Gotcha. Mike, anything you missed from some of the stuff we've seen so far?
There was a couple things that would have been cool to see. We got a little bit of a Modern Warfare 2 showcase from Infinity Ward there, but we didn't get... I was expecting maybe like a peek or a hint or something at what the Warzone 2 map's going to be like. Just something. Just, just an idea of a setting, would have been cool. And other than that, I expected at least an announcement about Elden Ring having DLC.
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
And nothing in sight as of yet for that.
Yeah.
But other than that, there wasn't really anything that I was like, oh, this has to happen, or thinking that it would.
There's a couple other like little games that, well, maybe not little, but stuff that was teased briefly last year that I had in my mind, like, oh, I kind of want to see more of that. There was one game last year at one of the events, I think it was called like Little Devil Inside, which showed a little bit of gameplay and stuff, and I don't remember really what it was, but I remember it sticking out to me, like, oh, I want to know more about that game. I kind of want to see it and try it when it comes out. And I don't think it showed up anywhere this year, so I don't even know if it's still on the docket for this year, if it's going to come out, if it's slated for next year. I don't know.
Was it an indie game?
I think it's more indie. I don't remember it being one of the bigger publishers, but I can't remember who was making it to even tell you. I'd have to look all that stuff up again, which I didn't do beforehand.
I think Nintendo Direct they're going to do another one here in about a month.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know if it was... I'm trying to remember where...
A pretty big...
Like where I saw the trailer for it before. I don't remember if it was a PlayStation event or an Xbox event that showed it, but... And the other one I was at the Xbox event last year because I think it's a Bethesda game. And there was no gameplay. It was just like a teaser pre-rendered footage thing. Kind of just trying to give you an idea what the game was. But it was called Contraband, which was like a co-op heist, supposedly is what they're teasing, type of game. And all it was like, the trailer was just like, hey, you're in a almost like a repair shop, and you're just... Everybody's stand still and the camera's just scrolling through the building to give you a taste of like set pieces maybe or little details about the game. Nothing, no footage for the game, no like announcement for dates or anything like that. So I figured we were ways off, but I thought we'd at least get another breadcrumb this year since it was another Bethesda title that maybe we could see something. So I was a little disappointed I didn't see that, but I don't know if it's still a few years out, then there's always next year, I guess.
They're trying to differentiate it from Bethesda's other team-based shooter, Redfall.
Which could be, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much, like, I feel like the heist mechanic is the more draw for this one, unless the shooter part of it, I guess.
That was the issue with, I think, last year's Xbox Showcase, is there were, like, too many team-based shooter-like games. Like, it felt like there was a shit ton of them, and a shit ton just came out. You had, like, Outriders, the Aliens one. Like Dark Tide's coming this year. There's like a shit ton of them right now, so I get not showing that again this year.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I feel like we got Space Overload this year. There's a lot of space games this year.
And I did check. The Stalker devs are in Ukraine. Well, some of them are still there. They have they released a trailer for the game, and they also released the dev diaries showing some of them fleeing the Ukraine.
Oh god.
Buildings near their like a half mile from their offices being bombed the fucking back,
Jeez.
and their lead AI developer manning a machine gun because that's what he does now. He's in the army,
All right.
so it's not great what's happening with
So that's
them.
probably
Obviously,
that's probably not coming out anytime soon.
but
Yeah.
they're working on it. There's one dude in his bathroom like, this is my office now.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
gotten dark there, so hopefully,
Yeah.
one day they can get back to something resembling normalcy.
Yeah, kudos to them for still trying to work. Jesus. Well, on that note, we'll try to get into the stuff that appealed to us. So we're gonna go around our little order for here. We're gonna get one from Mike, one from Ian, one from me, one from Andy, and then we'll loop back around and get another one. So we each have 3 to talk about. Mike, you want to kick us off? What's your first game you're looking forward to?
So we're going to start this off. I'm just going to set it up for you. I'm going to read directly what they have on their Steam page and see if it sounds interesting to you guys. Because this was a short trailer. You guys may not have even noticed it. Not even sure if you'll know what I'm talking about when I bring it up if you didn't specifically watch it because I put it in chat.
Scorn.
Maybe you did.
Scorn.
Oh, shit. Somebody else has Scorn?
I think we all have Scorn.
That's
We got
false.
some Scorn
That's-
fever.
It's very false.
Set on an abandoned lunar base designed around an 80s vision of the future. Curious exploration turns into a need for survival when a lunar base goes completely quiet. Searching for answers puts you face to face with an enemy who is certain that the main threat is you. Discoveries lead to deeper unknowns, and the only way to go is forward.
Callisto Protocol.
This is
Cocoon.
Routine. This is a game called Routine from Lunar Software. They are an indie developer.
One of the
is-
space horror games we saw. There were a lot of. And then there were also just a lot of space games.
This is being made by a team of 9 guys are working
Jeez.
on this game. And it was first announced. Andy, I feel your pain on this one. Not as much because I haven't been looking forward to it the whole time. I first saw it after that. But first announced in 2012. And the first trailer that I was able to find of it was actually longer than the one we recently got. And that was from like 2015. And I actually had remembered some of it from back then because it's a very unique feel on that trailer that they put out back then. And yeah, it looks creepy and crazy and all kinds of atmosphere is set up in both of the major trailers they've put out. And it also is having music done by Mick Gordon. Now, Mick Gordon, if you know Mick Gordon, he's responsible for both Doom and Doom Eternal soundtracks. Among many other games that he's done, those are the most notable that he's known for.
Gotcha.
And he's been on with this game evidently since about the start. This is not a new pickup for him. This is something he's been on with for a while, and now he has officially listed it there. Evidently, the game went through development hell trying to get made because when they were going from the Unreal Engine 3 to Unreal Engine 4, the development team could not afford to get computers that could do it. And there was a very generous investor who came forward and wanted to see the game made that bought them the equipment they needed so they could make the game.
Huh.
And so now they have been able to finally present us with a trailer in hopes that this is actually happening sometime fairly soon. There is no date on it as of yet. So it looks cool as shit. It's, did you guys watch this trailer?
Was this
Do you remember
during
it?
the Xbox Showcase?
This was Summer Game Fest.
Summer Game Fest. So the one thing that stood out to me, because what I thought it was going to be, because the robots looked, I thought it was Five Nights at Freddy's. That's what those robots reminded me of, the Five Nights at
Really?
Freddy's, when the animatronics get ripped off. So I thought this was another Five Nights at Freddy's spin-off, because you're allowed to
Oh.
just make those games, and then you ask the guy that made it, hey, is this game good enough to join the Freddyverse? And he says yes or no. So that's what I kind of thought this was a Five Nights at Freddy's spin-off. The gun thing, I wasn't sure. Like I like, was doing like it had like the gun the guy had has like this weird '80s filter on it, but I'm also just kind of curious what the gun does. So if I remember correctly, he doesn't actually use it in the trailer unless it was in a different one he did.
So you can also see this on the Steam page where it actually says that gun is called the CAT, the cat, and it's like the something astronaut cats? Something. Basically, this is going to be a game, if you remember, like Alien Isolation, where you're kind of helpless, and that thing you can get upgrades with along the way, but it says like you're only using it as an absolute last resort. That's what it says on the Steam page. So to me, that says that's like a one-time use, get out of jail free card to zap the thing or something like that, or maybe it helps you grapple to somewhere or cloaks you or something. It doesn't really get into what it actually does, but it just says like you're able to upgrade it and do stuff with it, but it's not going to be something that you're like crutching on or using like a gun.
No, I'm curious. I think horror games work best horror-wise when it's like a horror movie and you have no chance. You can't survive against Jason. He's Jason.
Yeah.
Like I think that kind of works best. I'm curious if there's going to be other enemies, because the other thing I don't like in horror, like the whole scary thing is not knowing what you're up against, kind of, because you're your own worst enemy in that sense, and you fill in what the thing is scaring you, you know? So I'm hoping it's not just the robots, because we see completely what the robots look like, so that makes them less scary. But I guess you could still work for atmospheric horror, but you know what I mean?
That was something the first trailer did really well. Hey, did you go back and watch that one by chance?
I did not.
It's a bit longer, and it gives you actual gameplay as opposed to just, whatever that you want to call this. But it gives you, like, actual gameplay, and in the gameplay, you see, like, shadows, and then you're running away, and you hear, like, the approaching, running, clunk, 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 coming right up behind you, and then the trailer cuts as you get, like, ripped off a ladder. But it doesn't ever actually show you what that shadow was in the original trailer. But yeah, like, I agree. Being helpless to defend yourself is, like, it's literally just run. That's survival. As opposed to, I love Resident Evil, but it doesn't feel quite as much like survival horror anymore because you're just blasting. You're just, it's still fun. It's still a good game, but it's not as survival-y as
action. Yeah, it's an action game now.
It's right. It's more action horror, which is cool. But
it's like I remember the trailer for this game, and I think the helplessness compounded with like the jump scares of a horror game is just like, nope, that's not for me. Like jump scares are one thing, like I can sort of handle like Resident Evil and stuff like that, but to more your guys' point, that's because Resident Evil feels like you get a fighting chance to fight your way out of things. So I feel a little bit better with some games like that. But like you described with it just being there's no hope, your only hope is to run, and there's nothing to fight back with. On top of just all the atmosphere, sound design, jump scares. Nope, I'm fine. I will find something else to play. Andy, what do you think? Is this in your wheelhouse?
It sounds pretty interesting. I'm not sure if it's in my wheelhouse exactly. My favorite survival horror game was Dead Space. So, I mean, it does have, like, the space theme to it. So, maybe? I would have to... I didn't actually get a chance to watch the trailer, but it sounds interesting.
Okay. Mike, you got anything else for this one, or we'll spin to Ian?
There's not really a lot to go on other than just a little bit that we have, so.
Okay.
No.
Ian, you're up. I don't know. I'm curious if you're starting with Scorn, ending with Scorn, putting Scorn in the middle, Scorn sandwich. I don't know how you're doing this.
Yes to all.
No one puts Scorn in the corner.
Nobody puts baby down. Let's get moist. It's the H.R. Grieger wet dream, a grisly nightmare, eyeball hand. You awake in a desolate hellscape. You're a biomechanical man. Desolation, hidden fauna. No dialogue. Storyline is the environment? Are things connected by, dare I say, strands?
Oh, God.
Scorn is not a shooter, and I'll never sleep again. if you take everything Brian hates about horror and made a game distilled in his nightmare sweat, you have Scorn. 8 years in the making. A legacy untold. We all shall become scorned. Scorn was shown for the first time a couple years ago at an Xbox thing, and it's just a bunch of phallic shapes and weird alien-like objects, which is basically just your typical H.R. Giger high school assignment. It reminded me a lot of like some of the artwork you could see in Jabberwoski's Dune, which had H.R. Giger as the art designer for it, where everything was a phallic palace. And they took that and were like, let's make a video game. So the PC gaming show, which I believe took place a couple hours after the Xbox showcase that was this past week, had a slightly extended trailer with a voiceover from one of the designers on the game who stated there's no dialogue. It's not a shooter. You don't use weapons to fight anything.
I thought the trailer did show him holding some sort of weapon.
Yeah, but you use it to activate things in the environment.
Okay.
You don't actually fight enemies with it.
Okay.
You do get chased down by a mutated frog master child that's a demon from my nightmares. I saw that in the trailer. It was it's just the combination of things I really like from my kind of horror, where it's an amalgamation of things that the human mind shouldn't be comprehensible. Like we're talking like Lovecraftian type horror, that cosmic horror where it's things horrifying because the human mind can't comprehend it. Everything in Scorn is biomechanical. It's part biology, part mechanic, sort of like the Yungzung Vong from Star Wars.
Oh, that's a deep pull.
There we go. No one got that reference but you.
I got it.
I was going to say, Andy might have read some books.
And you play as a skinless man, so I'm sure that excites you. You're a skinless biomechanic man, and you have to interact with the environment to escape the prison, nay, the hell you are in Scorn. Scorn is hell, and you're in it with no skin, eyeball in your hand, carrying around. You know the prophets from Halo?
Okay.
Okay, imagine one of them, but on like a floating like throne thing, and they're like melted down and like mixed in with like mushrooms, and they look like they're dying of everything. At one point in the trailer, you're carrying that around, and in my head I'm just going, Scorn for the man, and it looks so fucking awesome, and I can't wait. It is the dopest, trippiest fucking thing, and I'm gonna play it on every drug.
Well, the big thing with this is I think, like you and I have conversations before all this, there was no mention of whether Scorn was even going to make it out this year. Like, they talked about a release date in the fall. They made no mention of it ever showing up, or like we assumed it was delayed until next year.
So that's the thing. It was originally announced last year as a 2021 release. It was pushed back into 2022. We had, like you said, discussed it, and I found, okay, they said October 2022 was the last thing. Then we didn't hear anything about it for a while. I think Microsoft did some stuff, and there was no mention of it. So I went to VentureBeat's, now Giant Bomb's, Jeff Grubb, one of the #1 internet leakers, to his weekly show to ask him, how is Scorn? And he said, yeah, no one's talking about it. I don't know if it's still coming out this year. And I was scorned. That's how that felt. That hurt. And then going into it, I'm like, there's been no mention of it. No one's talking about this game enough. And there we go. Scorn trailer, October 22nd, 2022. The world is saved. The world is phallic. It's a man's world with your biomechanic fungi fucking power.
All right, so it's hands down, no one is more excited about this than Ian. Like
me, the lead designer, and the lead designer's wife.
Just so he can shut the fuck up about talking about this game that he's been making for 4 years.
He's been talking about Scorn so much that it's like a meme now. It's kind of like how everyone thinks of the movie Morbius. They say morbid out.
No. I knew where you were going.
This is like my Morbius. I'm morbid out over Scorn.
Andy, are you as scorned as Ian? Are you gonna play
Scorn head?
I'm hesitant for this one, honestly. I didn't watch the updated gameplay trailer. I just remember the one we talked about previously. And it's odd enough to be good, but also odd enough to make me not want to play it. Does that make sense?
Ian, I don't remember. Did they talk about this as being on Game Pass, or is this just something that was coming to Xbox?
Day one Game Pass, yeah.
Okay. So there's a chance, Andy, if you're still in Game Pass, you could check it out for free.
True.
It's scornerific. It'll give you scornia.
Mike, you gonna get some scornia playing this game?
I was gonna go like Scorny or something like that, but no. I'm gonna play it because it looks cool, but I am nowhere near the level of excited. It looks cool. I'm gonna play it. We'll see if it's good.
Irrelevant, honestly. It's scorn paradise.
Okay, so that's fine. It looks interesting to me, and I'm not all aboard the hype train for it just yet.
I think it's one of those like perfect Game Pass games. I don't think it's a AAA game. It's at best a AA game, but they're doing something you don't see this type of not only horror but atmosphere in video games, and to be able to do it through the Microsoft umbrella and then put it out in a way a lot of people can try it out, I think is kind of what I want Game Pass to be. There was that Obsidian game shown, the one with like the like the old Catholic imagery. I think it's called Penitence. Like those are the kind of games.
With the book and the almost like hand drawn comic looking art style or whatever with it. Yeah,
like those kinds of games I think are made for Game Pass, where you can do something kind of fucking weird that like some freaks on the internet really are into,
Case in point, this guy.
I'm slobbering over it, I just want a mouthful of scorn.
I'm definitely more prone to trying games like that if they're free to download and play. Well, not free, but like I'm already paying for it.
Include it with your subscription.
Right,
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with Ian that I like that games like this exist through that Microsoft umbrella of Game Pass and stuff like that, just to be able to get the game into hands of people to try it out. I will not be one of those people. I don't care if even though I'm signed up for Game Pass, this is not one that's going to make my list. I will let you tell me all about it. I will be fine hearing it, firsthand from you.
I'm breaking into your house, deleting all the games off your Xbox, downloading only Scorn, and destroying your Wi-Fi. You're playing the Scorn.
Scorn probably won't work. It probably needs to be connected to the internet to be able to function. So
that's coming up later.
You should also draw an eyeball on his hand, so when he wakes up, he's like, ah!
Don't give him ideas, Andy. What the
fuck? No, just so you know, I was there. One single googly eye on your hand.
This my got really. I thought it was weird before. It's just getting even more fucked up and weird. All right, I'm not even going to give you the opportunity. We're done with Scorn. We're going to move on to the next one. So that means it's my turn. So I took a lot of the obvious choices, I think, out of these games. The first one I'm going to talk about is one I think Mike already brought up a little bit, Modern Warfare 2. So it's the latest game in the Call of Duty franchise. It brings back Infinity Ward as developer for this game, which I think is hands down the best COD developer out there. The last game they did was 2019's Modern Warfare, which revamped COD with a new engine, debuted Warzone, which was the big free-to-play battle royale. Infinity Ward started that. And while I don't really expect a lot of like upgrades and fundamental changes to the franchise because they don't traditionally make a lot of leaps in development and stuff in between games. I'm more interested in the same thing Mike was. I want to see what Warzone 2.0 looks like, which they haven't talked about, but this game is still on my radar because of that. They mentioned, like, the only thing we really got was single-player stuff. They showed some story campaign mission. They didn't even talk about multiplayer too much. Like, they talked a little bit about the gunsmith getting some upgrades for Modern Warfare 2. I think they had talked about allowing 10 attachments on a gun, just like they do in Vanguard now. So I'm curious to see how that all comes together. I have such a love-hate relationship with Call of Duty multiplayer that for as much time as I put into some of these games, I bitch about them just as much. Like I can never find that happy medium of kind of enjoying myself for a while. It's either I enjoy it for a little bit, then I get sick of it, then I take a break, then I come back, and then I like it for a little bit, then I get sick of it. It's the revolving door of Call of Duty games for me, and that's how I kind of am. But again, this really hits my radar for Warzone 2.0. I really want to see what that game tends to be. I don't think it's going to release at the same time the game comes out, which right now the game is slated for October 28th. I imagine Warzone 2.0 would be a couple months later, so I don't know if it's going to hit the very end of the year or if they're going to push it to early 2023. But I'd be very surprised if Warzone 2.0 comes out at the end of October like this game does. But I don't know if Mike, since you talked about Modern Warfare earlier too, or I know you're looking forward to Warzone 2.0. Anything else you want to add for Modern Warfare?
I mean, I'd say I'm more looking forward to the multiplayer than Warzone.
Okay.
Like I was surprised we didn't see Warzone 2.
Yeah.
Like didn't see anything, but we, seeing, Modern Warfare 2, they're saying it's a new engine and, this is going to be a 2-year cycle for the first time in like 20 years for a Call of Duty game. So, if you're unaware of that, 2022, we're getting Modern Warfare 2. There is no 2023 Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
Treyarch's next game will be in 2024. Presumably, if they go on the same loop of, Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and then Sledgehammer, it will be Treyarch in 2024. But
and if everything goes on schedule, too, that might be a Microsoft-owned Call of Duty game at that point.
And it's possible. Yeah, I mean, the timing and the legality, all that, I don't know specifically when that's all going to occur.
Yeah.
June 2023, I think, is the plan.
But don't they have contracts like signed out for games that they haven't even?
No, I mean
they have to like.
There's an agreement for like I think the next 2 Call of Duties to release on PlayStation, but I don't think there's dates attached to those.
Okay. So whatever Treyarch's doing would still then be there.
Or Sledgehammer. Whoa,
so we could get like a limited time exclusive on Xbox, and then a couple months later it hits PlayStation or something like that.
You shit out the shitty Sledgehammer game for PlayStation's last one. You save Treyarch for Xbox exclusive, baby.
The thing for me that I would love to see personally is them start having these studios collaborate instead of and make these, because we're seeing a lot more long form game as a service type titles come out today.
Yeah.
To see Call of Duty look at their games more in that respect and, say like we can release one game, have all these studios work together on it, have that be the definitive title that we put out, and then milk that the way that games milk money these days, that all these games as a service do, because they're milking it with Warzone. I feel like they probably would have a cheaper overall process and more total profit by having the studios work together.
I mean, they kind of do that already. Like, outside of Treyarch and Infinity Ward, most non-Blizzard Activision studios are just COD support studios nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, that's why their slate's not that big. Like, even though the Sledgehammer game that got bumped for Black Ops Cold War, like, partly that might have gotten bumped because the game wasn't good, but it also got bumped for Sledgehammer to work on other CODs.
Right.
Well, like Raven Software. Raven used to make some really awesome games, and all they're doing is they're in charge of Warzone now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think I could see it. I mean, I wouldn't mind, like, instead of Treyarch making Black Ops Korean War, they make Modern Warfare 2 Zombies, or Modern Warfare 2 Vietnam throwback thing. Like, they could make a campaign in that engine with new weapons instead of making a whole new game every time. That could be something I think they could do, and it's something, Halo Infinite's name infers. It's something Ubisoft mentioned doing with Assassin's Creed in the future, having a hub world with all the games.
Yeah.
So I think it's something they can do. It's just, does Big Dick Bobby Kotick see that vision?
Well, Big Dick Bobby Kotick probably won't be around long enough to matter, and eventually they can just decide without him. But I think one thing you didn't mention that it would really help with is also the integration into Warzone. So you have all these different games right now, and every time it comes through, you have a different integration for a new game into Warzone, and then those guns either become the meta or they're useless. And then it happens the same way for the other guns, and the way that they sell things is they make them the meta.
Yeah, and I'm curious.
It's tough balancing 3 engines.
I'm curious how
into
this
a single game.
This is all going to work with 2.0. Like, are we gonna is basically everything that's out in Warzone up until that point stay in Warzone, or are they going to like wipe the? Obviously, I think Warzone 2.0 is basically starting from scratch, right? I think they're going to do like a different engine and stuff for that. New like arsenal of guns and all that stuff. Nothing's carrying over from Warzone 1, so it's back to basics kind of thing. But if they sustain that for another 2 years or 3 years like they were doing with Warzone 1, eventually they could hit critical mass like they're doing again now, which is too much shit coming from two different places and you can't balance it all together.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But
that would be a good turn for the franchise.
Yeah.
Is to make one cohesive title that really works on all aspects as opposed to shitting out a title every year.
Right.
I mean, I think even you could keep doing the Call of Duty release schedule, but just not have them all integrate into Warzone and just have that sell its own cosmetics.
Which would be the smarter. Yeah, I think that's a little bit safer just to keep Warzone balanced. Is update Warzone separately than what the actual annual releases or, every other year releases are doing.
Like most other battle royales don't even have the 25 guns each COD releases with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or they find ways to cycle them in and out so that you're not have that big of a loophole and stuff like that.
Apex doesn't have that many still, and it's been out 3 years.
Yeah.
And they were adding a gun at least I think once or twice a year for a bit.
Well, like Mike said, if we have a 2-year development cycle between Warzone or Modern Warfare 2 and whatever the next Call of Duty is, that means there's 2 years of Warzone 2.0, presumably, that they don't have to factor in something from another game. They just have 2 years to play with Warzone and whatever they built, and that's it.
And hopefully the plan is to make Treyarch use the same engine, so all those integrations are easier too, and so that one game randomly doesn't have mounting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy, I know you're not real big of a COD guy, but any interest in Modern Warfare 2?
Probably not, no.
Okay.
I think the last Call of Duty I played was World at War. I think that was, 360?
That was, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. In my opinion, there's too much saturation in the Call of Duty Battlefield realm. It's just like when like Mike said, you shit out a game every year. It's just I got behind 1 year. I wanted to get the next one, and then I got behind 2 years, and it's you just you're never gonna catch up. And at one point, I just threw my hands up and said, yep, I'm not a Call of Duty player anymore. So.
It is the first time since Call of Duty became a franchise that they won't be releasing a title in a year.
Yeah.
It's more than 20 years since they have had a year where they didn't release a game. So, yeah, it's ridiculous the amount of Call of Duty titles that have existed.
Yeah. All right, we'll spin off to Andy. Andy, what's your first choice?
My first one is going to be Diablo 4.
Okay.
It's been announced for a while. I think they just announced the final class of Diablo 4 being the Necromancer, which is really cool. I've always really liked the Necromancer class. It looks like a really cool game. I think they've really integrated it well cooperatively. And in fact, I think you're able to couch co-op it now. And I do believe they have introduced crossplay to it. I don't know in what regards crossplay. They only mentioned
Xbox and PC, I think, right?
But I'm not sure.
Still something.
Yeah, if they're going to do the PS. And
it's better than nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've loved the Diablo franchise for a while. Diablo 2, I played it when it was out. Diablo 2 Reincarnated or whatever it's called, I played just recently. I actually platinumed the Diablo 3 before the Necromancer pack came out. The only game I've ever platinumed on PlayStation.
Oh, nice.
So I'm pretty excited about it. The graphics look awesome. The story's usually just about the same between all of the Diablos. They change it up a little bit, but
yeah.
Diablo's dead. No, wait, Diablo's back. You got to kill Diablo.
But it looks like there's a lot of really cool real world events, and you no longer progress through chapters. It seems like they have a whole open world thing where you actually have to, go through and get to the stuff.
Yeah.
So it seems really interesting, and it looks like they don't churn out a game every year. So it's like Diablo 3 released probably 15 years ago, 12.
Jeez.
No, that was I think the length between Diablo 2 and 3. Diablo 3.
Diablo 3. I'll just look it up real quick. If only I had Google. 2012, 10 years.
Okay, so
almost to the day.
I was pretty close, but
yeah, no, I thought it was sooner.
It's pretty exciting. I'll probably end up getting it just because I don't know. I feel like it's one of the first ones to really the first franchise to really accelerate that type of game, that like action RPG.
Does anyone remember? I know that was part of the Xbox event. Did they say it was part of Game Pass or no?
It is.
It is? Okay.
If not, it'll be like 3 months afterwards when Microsoft owns them.
Well, a lot of the Bethesda stuff like almost immediately came over when they first did all that. Like the Elder Scrolls stuff came and Doom, and like right now you can just download every single Doom that ever existed right off there.
Is Diablo Bethesda?
No.
No,
Blizzard,
Blizzard.
Activision.
Okay,
So,
okay.
like,
Oh, that's right.
what I'm
Okay,
saying, like,
okay.
they're
Got you. Yeah.
Integrate quickly is what I
Yeah,
would think.
I got you.
But
Okay.
They
was
already
there a
announced-
release date for Diablo 4 announced?
That I don't recall.
I think they just gave a year as in next year.
2023,
Yeah, sometime
yeah.
2023.
But it's considered part of Phil's promise next 12 months.
Yeah.
Actually, that was that lady that said it. Sorry, lady, I don't remember her name. That's sexist of me, I know. But I was curious, though, because this is kind of going in that Guild Wars dynamic where it's the big open world and then like instance dungeons kind of MMO hybrid.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious how that'll work out. Like, I like the idea of like having these big bosses, like everyone teams up to fight. But if the game's not popular, there's not enough people to fight the boss.
That is
Or
Oh,
it's like Destiny, where like
I thought
no
of like
one
Destiny
gives a
public
shit about
events.
patrols.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to keep it engaging. Like Lost Ark had that content too. Like big world bosses, they were timed though, so people would just fast travel in like 2 minutes before it started, and you got like 50 people breaking down and kicking the shit out of this thing, and it was fun. And so I'm wondering how how they'll handle that. If the bosses will scale to the amount of players, just how far it is to travel. Will there be a fast travel thing? There's some questions there. I really like Diablo 3. I played that one a lot. I got back into it when Reaper of Souls came out, the expansion, and I killed, I think, Diablo again. I think that was the storyline. It was fun. I'm excited for crossplay. It'll make it easier for me to play with people. I played Diablo 3 completely solo. Kicked ass as a sorcerer, badass, Mr. Wizard, time traveling, pulling out my scorn rolls and killing people with them. And I'm really excited. I know they brought the barbarian back. I'm excited to morb out as the barbarian and just start
you had to
slaying shit.
He's doing this on purpose.
It's the original looter shooter without the shooter.
It's just the looter.
It's the looter. It's the slooter.
It's a looter.
It's a slooter.
Yeah, I never really got into Diablo. Like I've heard a lot of people talk about them, and just looking from the trailer, like it looked interesting enough to me that I would try it, especially if it's on Game Pass. Like I have no reason not to try it then. So yeah, I'm interested to see when it finally releases because I might actually dive into this one and at least give it a shot.
And they announced that dedicated like PvP area, which I know people enjoyed from like Diablo 2. Because I don't think Diablo 3 had PvP.
No, they did not.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was no PvP there.
I mean, I don't think it'll be like. I hope they don't try and esport it like Overwatch. That's all I'll say.
Oh God. I mean, I'm looking forward to Diablo 4. I'm gonna play it probably right at release. Diablo 3 I got into probably like 2 months. I spent playing Diablo 3, where got really heavy into it, and then it gets to a point, I guess, with Diablo 3 where there's just like all it becomes eventually is here's the same thing you've already done, just with more health, and like it just becomes things get more tankier. Once you get into like the very end game,
Yeah.
Your gear score gets high enough, and then it felt like it could have used like, I don't know, something to incentivize you to play all the way to like max gear score.
I mean, they had some cool stuff in 3 with the expansion, like adding the greater rifts where you just got like enemies that would like always be on fire to hurt you, or like they would have combo electrocution attacks. Like they started adding stuff like that and just randomizing it more, which is really cool. It wasn't like you could still one hit some bosses in that with the right build. And I know with the different seasons, people have been excited. Like they'll play seasonal characters to this day in Diablo 3. I think they're on season 25 or some bullshit.
Yep.
Just to get like the seasonal armor and shit, trying out new builds. So there's definitely, they can do the longevity, I think we all know. And I'm not saying you're not saying that, but there's stuff.
There's stuff. And like, to me, the interesting, like where I got fun for like the end game was their like survival mode. Like the permadeath mode.
Oh, hardcore.
Like that. Yeah, like that I got some fun out of, seeing how far I could make it and then starting over again. And you know, like it to me that was more fun than the just build upon build upon build. Because I want to say I played mostly, was it a Crusader?
Oh yeah, that was an awesome build. Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with that. But it got to, like Ian said, like a point you're just one-shotting everything. Once you've built so well and you get so far beyond, it's just
You try.
the game doesn't keep up with you.
That's when you go to the next class and
Right.
start all over.
But it was, I mean, I love the ridiculous things, and I hope they don't shy away from that in the future too. Because I remember having I don't know if it was a staff or a spear or something like that. You'd swing it, and then like 4 cows would come out and attack the enemy with you. Like,
there's the secret cow level. Yep.
yeah, like having some ridiculous stuff too will have to be there for me. But I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
All right, so I guess that's probably it for Diablo. Mike, we'll circle back around to you for your next one.
My next one, I'm going to talk about Witchfire, which actually Brian and Ian, we talked about that a long time ago, briefly, on a podcast that I hosted a long time ago. We had actually talked about this. So for those who don't know, Witchfire is being developed by another indie developer. So they're publishing and developing it, named The Astronauts. They're a Polish developer that is known for The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, and a lot of their devs also worked on Painkiller and Bulletstorm. None of that really applies to Witchfire, because I believe Painkiller and Bulletstorm are both like top-down type shooters.
No, Bulletstorm was a third-person action shooter, with the main character voiced by Steve Bloom, and you can unlock Duke Nukem as the main character.
Nice.
Alien
Did not
bastard
know.
shit in my toilet.
So the Witchfire is
Shake
going
my
to be
head
a
at
dark fantasy type of game, but with guns. So to me, like, this was the first real gameplay trailer I think we've seen. I've seen some like dev tests and other trailers, but nothing that actually like rang as like true gameplay. Of what they, I guess, think the final build might look like. And this, to me, looked like you took a mix of Destiny, Doom, and Dark Souls and just, like, mashed it together, and this is what came out. Because, like, the Dark Souls part for me is just kind of the dark fantasy environment. You know, like, the way the levels look, everything is... It has a really good dark fantasy vibe. But the abilities and the gunplay, that looks and feels a lot like Destiny. I'm pretty sure we even see, like, what is the Warlock thing they can do in Destiny where they shoot the 3 flaming orbs out of their hand as a melee ability?
The Mustang Snapfire.
Sure.
That's the anime character that does that.
Oh, well, it's literally, we see almost an identical ability to what you see happen in Destiny happening here, which I thought was kind of weird. But also cool. And it looks like the gunplay is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, and then you got the way the enemies seem to come in waves, and then you have a big enemy comes in, and then, I don't know, the enemies gave me a lot of Doom. It didn't look like quite as fast-paced, but you have a dash mechanic in it, the way that you do in Doom Eternal, that really gave it that kind of feel to me. Like, oh, you're fighting, oh, dash. It looked amazing. To me, like, the combat here looked incredible because they're giving you options with how to attack each individual situation. And, you know, like, things like you see the character approach the group of enemies all around this, like, semi-transparent bell. And it's like, if you're overwhelmed, ring the bell and it stuns the enemies. That's kind of fucking cool. I don't know. What did you guys think? I've talked about this at length before. It looks like a lot of fun to me. I want to see more of what it's going to be, and I want to hear more about what it's going to be or what the story is or something. But so far, I mean, I'm all in on this one, obviously.
So I've been following this one for a while because I follow the creative director, Adrian Chimera, I can't pronounce his last name, on Twitter. And he's been tweeting about it, sharing images to the blog for years. And I've always thought it looked really cool. So I'm happy to see it, like, maybe coming to life. They said Q4 2022 is when early access is going to start, assuming they're happy with it. And then probably sometime over the year after that, we'd get a full release. It still looks really cool. I've seen that one part of the trailer. I think the early part, like they've shown that very little snippet like a couple times over the years, just trying to explain what they're doing with the game, and I'm very excited for it. I know one of the things they're doing is like Ethan Carter, they use something called photogrammetry, which is where you take pictures of real life objects from different angles and then use software to recreate it in like Engine. So that's how they're doing like a lot of the environment work and stuff. Someone actually asked if that's how they also made the monsters in the game. And
Someone asked that?
yeah, and the response was, I hope not. So I think it's really cool.
I hope it was sarcastic.
I'm very excited to see it. I think these guys are doing a really good job. Like I said, I really enjoyed Bulletstorm for what it was at the time, and I'm excited to see how this eventually comes out.
Yeah, I don't know. I had to try to rewatch the trailer a little bit because I couldn't remember what it looked like. But yeah, I mean the gameplay and stuff looks pretty cool. Like I can get the Destiny type of vibes. Like it looks like the dude's just rolling around with a hand cannon and shooting shit. So
Yeah.
that looks cool. Yeah, I don't remember if that was a Summer Game Fest thing, right? It wasn't at the Xbox event. That was at the Summer Game Fest. Okay, so if it was at the Xbox event, I would assume 80% of that stuff was hitting Game Pass. So I don't know. I doubt this is going to hit Game Pass then. So I don't know whether I'll pay the money to try it. But if it eventually hits somewhere where I can get it cheaply or hear from you guys that it's that good, I might think about diving in. But off the bat, I don't know if I dive in at full price.
I don't know that it's been announced officially for anything except PC at this point.
Yeah, okay, fair. Then yeah, I don't know.
Masterclass, get out of here.
I do not know. It Ian, you may know.
I was to say, not only that, but it's currently an Epic Store exclusive.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that part.
They
either.
said it'll come to other platforms later, but that's all we know.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it's going to launch with Epic Store.
Yeah, probably similar to how Hades got launched.
Okay.
Andy, you gonna buy a PC for this one?
I desperately need a new PC, but this sounds really cool. My question is it as difficult as like a Dark Souls game is, or does it look more like like you're rolling around like a third-person shooter? Like it's not that.
It's
bad?
a first-person shooter. Okay. And I don't think there's any kind of like Dark Souls vibe to it,
other than just like environmental like theme.
Right.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
And it has bosses that are named with a red bar. You know what I mean? But a lot of games do that.
Destiny does that.
The health bars that show up above enemies' heads have a very Dark Souls look and feel to them, but I don't think...
They've never described it as that kind of game from anything I've ever seen of them.
It's just the aesthetic of it that's got that feel.
Yeah, it sounds cool, but I've been burned by Destiny twice now, so I don't know that I'd really want to get into something like this.
We'll keep asking, Andy.
Yeah.
Destiny 3.
I don't think that this game is anything like the gameplay loop of Destiny, like a looter shooter kind of thing. Like I don't think it's anything like that.
I think
like
it's just a single player, like Doom, more like Doom than Destiny.
I don't know
from like that perspective.
It's just the gunplay and abilities looked a little bit like Destiny. That's all.
I don't know. First person shooters to me just they don't get the replayability out of them that I used to. So
that's fair.
Gotcha.
I'll
anything else for this one?
Ian, was that a Full Metal Alchemist?
Oh yeah. Mustang, yes.
The Snapfire, yeah.
Just the snap, yeah.
You
they added that to
said
Destiny.
it so quick, and then I was like, oh yeah, I do know what that's from.
Fuck yeah, someone got it.
Sat on that connection for 10 minutes.
That was a fucking good show.
All right, Ian, what's your second game?
It's a Scornucopia.
Oh god damn it, no.
The Persona games are a fantastic blend of story-driven visual novel, JRPG, and romance. The game has been out on PlayStation for a long time. It's now coming out to PC and Xbox. Persona 5 is the sixth installment in the Persona series, part of the larger Megumi Tensei franchise, originally released in 2016. The enhanced Royal version released in 2019. Persona 5, including the Royale version, is the best-selling game in the franchise, and the main character, Joker, appeared in Smash. Alongside the normal school, everyday modern life, where you're working part-time jobs, you're hanging out with friends, trying to find romance, there's a secret going on, and you have to investigate the metaverse to find out the truth of what's really going on, with your alternate personalities, with your friends and comrades, trying to break out and find out, what is this mystery? What is life? Can we do it? Yes, we can, Bob the fucking Builder. Let's go. I played Persona 4 Golden the day it released on Steam. I have been waiting and begging them to give me more Persona. They announced not just Persona 5 Royale, they're giving us Persona 3 Portable released on the PlayStation Portable as well. But Royale is coming out this calendar year, and I can't wait. And it's day one on Game Pass when it comes out, but it's already been out on PlayStation for like 6 years, so it's not really day one on. But you get it. I'm very excited.
It'll be on Game Pass.
Did you see the other three of us gloss over as soon as you started talking about Persona? I'm like,
I thought you did that, but that's why I tried to get you in with the Scornucopia. I was like, now he's got to listen for at least 5 words.
To be fair, he kind of fumbled the first time he said Persona, and it didn't sound like Persona to me, so I was wondering what he was talking about at first. And then he said it again, and I was like, oh, never mind. No, I'm kidding.
I've actually been curious about the games. They look like they're pretty cool games. My brother's really into like the JRPGs and stuff, so I tend to get a lot of
Vibes.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
From
You love vibes from him.
yeah, from him. So like he'll get a JRPG, I'll go over and watch him play, and I'm like, hey, that actually looks really cool. Like maybe I should play that, but backlog and game ADD, it just doesn't work. So.
Well, you get a Persona trifecta with this. There three Persona games are hitting Xbox.
So I guess like I would have a couple of questions that I feel like, to me personally, they don't do necessarily the best job of in their advertising for this series. Okay, so I see the Persona series. One, like you said, there's a bunch of different titles, and it gets confusing, and it's just like, okay, as soon as that starts, I just kind of check out. Like, if I don't know where to start, or I don't know what I'm supposed to play, or I'm not figuring out this shit. Make it simpler. And I'm not saying it's that complicated, but it's still like, oh, Persona 5, the 6th game in the series. Like, god damn it.
This isn't Kingdom Hearts, don't worry.
No, that one's the worst for it. That honestly probably is the worst numbered titled game in history. But
that'll Metal Gear.
Maybe. I guess the other part of it is I've seen advertising for it. I've seen people talk about it. And the thing I've never heard once anybody tell me is, what is the genre of game? So I will ask you directly, Ian, what is the genre of Persona games?
They're JRPG.
It is, so it's similar to Final Fantasy then?
Yeah, the
or what Final
combat's
Fantasy
just
has
like
become.
that. The difference is their stories told visual novel style with like a character like on screen and then the dialogue. There's some animated cutscenes, but nothing that you would get from a Final Fantasy level. It's more subdued. I'm not sure about Persona 5 if that's changed, because it was a pretty big graphical leap from 4 to 5 for them. So there might be a bigger difference there. But yeah, there's a lot of the like day-to-day normal. They all take place usually over one calendar school year of you being a Japanese high school student. So you also have like your part-time job, doing stuff with friends, playing games. But then there's a mystery to solve, and you go into the world. This one happens to be called the Metaverse, trademarked, Meta. And you go in and you summon these demons, and you recruit the demons to do your fighting JRPG style. Like you have different ones you can control and collect, kind of like Pokemon.
Is it kind of like Disgaea?
Yeah.
Okay, Disgaea was really cool actually. So I would play Persona 5 then.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in that description, you both lost me and brought me back in at the same time. You were like, "You're gonna play as a Japanese high school student." I just checked out. I'm like, "No, never mind." And then you said, "But you get to use your demons to fight for you in battle." I'm like, "Oh no, wait."
And also in this one, you're a Japanese high school student that starts the game suspended because of physical violence.
You're pushing me out again.
That's all right. You've lost me from the start, but that's fine, because I think my next one, Liam won't even check in for mine.
You got Scorn?
No.
No, we know what he's coming with next, and we know what you're going to say, but go on.
Oh, okay, I wasn't going to use that as a segue in case we didn't want to add anything else, but I'll take it. Next game for me, again, another obvious one that I know we've talked about before. They showed a little bit more of the game, but of course, I think by the time this episode releases, this will have released to the public. So I just be as excited about it then. So this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. So it's the throwback TMNT arcade-style game that is releasing on PC, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and it's a day one release on Xbox Game Pass. It will have 7 playable characters, the 4 Turtles, Splinter, April, and the newly announced Casey Jones. It will feature 6-player co-op for local and online. And it releases on June 16th and is available to buy, if you're not on Game Pass, for $25. Which, all of that sounds amazing to me. Even if it wasn't on Game Pass for $25, got it. Like, I'm highly debating even just buying it for my Switch and then playing it on Game Pass for free. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. But I'm excited. It's a cool style of game, a throwback that I think I've kind of been itching for and not really realizing it until I saw the trailer. Like, yes, I could totally go for that and play that. I think it just looks like a lot of fun. So I'm in. I know Ian's checked out. He's not. So I don't know.
I mentioned earlier, like, you got games like Scorn, Penitence. There's these great games that Game Pass is bringing in and making it, and then you have this diatribe of regurgitated nostalgia nonsense coming out day one on Game Pass, and it's like, be better. Be better. Fuck the Turtles. Suck my dick.
All right, so for the people that might actually be excited for this, Andy, what do you think of this one?
It looks really cool, and it reminds me of playing the Ninja Turtles arcade game with you guys at Replay Effects and just having an absolute fucking blast. Just ripping into it and being really terrible at it, but it was a free play, so it didn't really much matter. I don't know. Is there couch co-op and online co-op on it?
Yes.
That sounds awesome to me.
Yes. Mike, I think you're probably excited for this too, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times as a kid I played through Turtles in Time, sitting at home. And, you know, it was one of those things that, like, I played, you know, like, what was it, Turtles 2 and 3 for NES were also, like, the arcade-style beat-em-ups, and then you get Turtles in Time was technically Turtles 4, and then there was a different one for Genesis, but it played much the same. I played the shit out of all of these games. I fucking loved them. And it just in general, the arcade-style beat-em-ups like that, love them. You know, like, if you're talking X-Men, The
so
Simpsons.
Good. Simpsons was a lot of fun, yeah.
You've got so many of these, and as Andy said, like, oh, we're not going to be good at it. There was no being good at those games. That, like, it's, to me, like, there was no, like, oh, skill tree. They were designed to suck your quarters.
Yeah, they're quarter eaters.
So that's the type of thing, like, Replay Effects and just an open arcade machine is fucking perfect for.
RIP
you just
Replay
sit
Effects.
there. It'll come back. I have faith. It'll happen again. But you just have an open arcade to play it on with some friends, and you just sit there and blast through it until the end. This type of game, where I want to say, like, the remade Turtles in Time felt like it was rebalanced, just like Turtles in Time as well was that leap to where it felt rebalanced for home play, not to suck your quarters down. So, like, start to finish, that one I played dozens of times in single sittings because it wasn't very long. And I can't wait to give this one a shot. Having up to 6 players, my only question would be is, like, have they thought about balancing that?
Yeah, I mean, they showed a little bit of 6 people playing at one time. It just looks very busy on screen, so I don't know how well it's going to play when you're actually playing with 6 people, but just having the ability to do that, I think, is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll be there playing it, like, for sure.
Yeah. Andy, you got something to
I
add?
was just going to say, yeah, sometimes in the actual arcade, when you were on some of the big cabinets, if you had a lot of players, sometimes you were, like, enemy starved. You're just like, run. Oh, get it? No, he got it. Oh, no, he got him. No, he got him.
He cleared the screen too quickly.
Yeah. Or is that one person that won't walk to the right? And they're...
Oh, yeah, those fuckers.
All right. Next up, we'll go to Andy's next one.
So my next one, I chose Final Fantasy 16. And it looks pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. Like, the graphics look really neat. It looks like they have some pretty interesting storylines in play there. It looks like a lot of the old Final Fantasy summons are playable as characters that turn into the summons. Like, they had Ifrit and Bahamut and Shiva and Odin. I can't remember some of the others, but it looked like a pretty neat game. But I feel like they are doing longtime fans of the game a disservice by making these Final Fantasy, not offshoots, just actual Final Fantasy games into action games. The gameplay looked horrendous to me. That's not
Like it's not the turn-based
no. It's
fighting that they used to
like
do.
Kingdom Hearts, or like Dynasty Warriors, and that just doesn't look. There's a time.
Did some of them give you the option to turn that on and off, or was it once they choose to do that, that's the way you have to play it? That's
play it that way. I would love if they made
Okay.
like like the strategy one and then like the action one. That'd be awesome. But no, like every Final Fantasy now is exactly like an action RPG, and I feel like they're doing their fans a disservice by doing it that way. I don't do the Final Fantasy offshoots action RPG and then do like the mainstream Final Fantasy ones, like they used to. Like what made the franchise popular.
Right. Anybody got anything to add for Final Fantasy?
I agree with Andy.
Okay.
I honestly I haven't played a Final Fantasy game since the original 7.
Great game. Great game.
I tried to play. It was, and I remember I tried to play the 7 remake when it came out, and the disc I got sent was garbage, and it didn't work, so I had to return it, and rather than buy another one, I just returned it and said, I'll get to it eventually, and I just kind of gave up at that point. But I kind of agree where Final Fantasy was a great turn-based RPG franchise, and there's just not a lot of that around.
Isn't. Well, JRPGs, there's a lot of really good ones, but Final Fantasy sort of sprung that whole thing. So,
Ian, is this in your wheelhouse at all?
I never got real into the Final Fantasies. Obviously, I like JRPGs. I just never got into these ones. I tried playing 10, and I just didn't click with me. My brother loves it. I also tried playing 14, but that's a MMO,
yep.
and not turn-based. So that's nothing to do with this. I mean, I get it. They're trying to expand their audience, I think, by going to the more Western style of action gameplay. Yakuza kind of did the opposite. They went from an action beat-em-up to Yakuza 7 being a more classical JRPG. So they went in kind of the opposite direction. So I'm just curious, though, if that's a mandate at Square that, hey, we need to get the Japanese out of the RPG, or if that's a creative level at the more director level, if it goes how high up in corporate that decision's being made.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't usually dive into a lot of Final Fantasy games, so I don't have too much to chime in with. So I probably won't even check this one out, to be honest.
The sword wasn't big enough, I'll say it. No one else did.
I remember being so excited about the last Final Fantasy and actually got a PS4 specifically to play this game, to play the game. And I remember downloading the demo and starting to play it, and I'm like, what the fuck am I playing right now? Am I playing Kingdom Hearts? You're running around. I'm running around a fucking I think it was a child's playroom killing shadows or something. Not just mashing buttons. I'm like, this is awful.
Yeah.
You might actually have been playing Kingdom Hearts.
That sounds exactly like Kingdom Hearts. You're just playing the second half of the first Kingdom Hearts where you're playing as the Final Fantasy characters.
Download the damn Final Fantasy 15 demo and tell me that's not what you're trying to play.
That's fair. I don't know that doesn't happen in Final Fantasy 15.
All right, so we'll loop back around to Mike for your third game.
Third game I'm going to talk about tonight is Marvel's Midnight Suns. Kind of fitting because we were just talking about kind of turn-based games. But before that, take a seat, class. It's time for comic book origins because I bet none of you know what those are. So
Midnight Suns?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Midnight Suns first appeared in a comic book kind of event called The Rise of the Midnight Suns. They were appearing in issues of Morbius. There was a Dark
Oh,
Hold.
you did it too, you bastard.
It was Morbin time.
Yeah, I'm all in.
The Dark Hold and Night Stalkers. And from 1993 to 1995, now this is Midnight Suns, spelled differently. This is SONS. They have changed that to SUNS because they are including female team members, so it makes sense, of course. But Midnight Suns Unlimited was its own anthology series. It was written by Howard Mackey and drawn by Andrew Kubert. And the original story, the backstory is that the team was formed by both Danny Ketch and Johnny Blaze to combat the reawakening of Lilith, the mother of demons. The original team was both of those Ghost Riders, Danny Ketch and Johnny Blaze, if you didn't know, both were Ghost Rider. Blade, Morbius, was an original one of the Midnight Suns. So there you go. Ian's in. He's going to play now. Hannibal King, who, if you remember Hannibal King from Blade Trinity, was played by Ryan Reynolds. Somebody named Frank Drake, who I've never heard of. A character named Vengeance, and a group called the Dark Hold Redeemers.
I think that's Nathan Drake's dad.
Might be. And eventually, Doctor Strange joins the group to help out in that original run. Later, the team resurfaced in Marvel Zombies. That team was made up of Hellstorm, Jennifer Kale, Man-Thing, and Werewolf by Night. So, you have this very obscure thing that, honestly, until they started talking about releasing this as a video game, I had no idea that it existed. I'd never heard of it. Had any of you actually ever heard of this before
Nope.
the game?
I thought that was just the name.
Nope. Yep. Exactly.
It sounded vaguely familiar, but I couldn't tell you what team of Marvel it came from.
Okay. So obviously for the game, you see, like in all the advertising, they're throwing in Wolverine, which why the hell wouldn't they if they want to sell
Spider-Man.
stuff? And and
Puts butts in seats.
so yeah, they're going to put their money makers in there, and that's not a problem. But this is actually going to be a kind of an action turn-based kind of game, and they also said almost card-based is the way that they played it, as opposed to just a standard turn-based RPG. There's going to be a bit of randomness to it, with like the deck, the cards playing a factor in it, as opposed to just having abilities that reset in this many turns. It's going to be a card flip for what's exactly going to happen.
So it's going to be like a Marvel strategy deck building game?
I don't know that there's deck building in it. I didn't see anything specifically about building, but I guess there's going to be randomness to how the cards play out. There is like they have a demo of like a 20-minute boss battle against Venom out there that you can watch. I wasn't going to watch a whole 20-minute demo of a battle that I'm eventually going to play myself when I play the game. I'd rather just experience it. But if you wanted to see exactly how it works, you could watch that. But this looks like a very cool story that they're going to tell. The trailer looked pretty cool. Looks like, I'm guessing this villain that we see in the trailer is meant to be this Lilith. And she's somehow looks to be controlling other superheroes. So that looks like it's going to be fun. But it has a little bit of Ultimate Alliance 2 vibes there, where that kind of happens there, where you got to fight other superheroes. But to me, it looks like it's fun. It's going to be a different experience for a Marvel game. And I think that's an important thing that I really want to see.
Is it drawing comparisons to XCOM or developers
It's
that
the
did
XCOM
XCOM?
developers.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I know I've seen XCOM thrown around with this game.
I think one of the biggest things they said in the difference between this and XCOM, like two main differences. One, they're not going to miss. Moves are not going to miss. I believe they described that because they're superheroes. Is Spider-Man really going to miss a big target? No. That's fair. I understand that. The other one is that cover's not going to matter. I feel like this is probably going to be similar to XCOM, but significantly easier.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, because it's a Marvel game, it's being marketed not to just adults that like that style of game. It's being marketed also to a lot of children that they want to be able to get through the game and experience the story.
Yeah, I'm curious just because it's Marvel, but I don't know how quickly I'll jump in to check it out.
Fuck them kids.
Is that because it's turn-based and like XCOM, or is it
It's
just
I
the
think it's more just
story,
because
or
like
what is it?
that type of style game isn't typically something I go for, but they might get me in the door with Marvel to try it. Like
They
if
let you
it
buy
wasn't Marvel
skins,
related,
then
I
you're
probably
all
wouldn't
in.
try it. What's that?
If they let you buy skins, you're all in.
Possibly. I mean, we'll
You
see.
get
what
all
the
if
skins
you
20
are.
pre-order it,
Spider-Man skins.
You pre-order it, comes with a Doctor Strange skin.
Yeah, Doctor Strange wasn't enough to get it for me.
But he looks like
Yeah, but-
Spider-Man.
For me, I generally don't play these types of games either, but I feel like that's part of the reason why I want to play it.
Yeah.
Is to experience a bit of how these characters can play out from a different perspective, as opposed to mash A to make Wolverine slice shit. You know,
Yeah.
I think it could be fun to mess around with. In that
Yeah, I'd be more
sense.
curious. I'll wait and see what the reviews are like and what other people tell me before I really dive in. But I'm curious.
I'll definitely give this one a try. I think it looks really cool.
Ian, are you avoiding or trying?
It's more of a wait and see how it ends up playing. I kind of like XCOM games, but
Yeah,
if it's like super easy cape shit, I might just not play it.
fair enough. All right, so Ian, third game. What do you got?
Hideo Kojima came out to make the most important and only worthwhile announcement at the Xbox Game Showcase. A game he has always wanted to make that has never been experienced before. Utilizing the cloud and analyzing industry trends, Kojima will challenge himself with this never-before-seen concept. This concept and utilizing the cloud could be so many different ideas. For example, say the cloud is actually creating the game to simulate the events of an espionage mission, to provide the player with military training, while actually serving as a microcosm of society as we transition past the social media age, with the cloud worried that humanity would become overly fixated on trending that would lose the will to defend itself. After completing the espionage mission to complete their training, the player then tries to build bridges across America to bring together various groups of people to work for the greater good instead of being stranded in isolated communities. But the cloud is actually double-crossing you and was working for Dr. Michael Morbius the whole time to distract you so we could more about in the real world while you were stranded in the cloud world building connections in a Strand-type game.
I hate everything about that. There's like every Kojima game rolled into one, and you fucking put in the Morbius shit. I'm checked out. I don't care what this is.
That's Metal Gear 2 plus Death Stranding crossed together and fucking into the ultimate cloud experience.
Yeah, I don't know. Like we have no idea what this game is. Like I'm excited to just see Kojima. Like sure, he's gonna throw his hat in with Xbox, see what this cloud stuff. But this is like 5 years away. We're never gonna see this anytime soon.
Probably 7. I am curious if this is the game Norman Reedus thinks is Death Stranding 2.
I don't know. Is anybody else like Ian's got some real hyped excitement for a lot of stuff he talked about today? Anybody else that excited about Kojima coming to Xbox?
I'm very excited. That's it. That's all I've got. I'm very excited. There's no more information here. But
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead, Andy.
It's
I
just an
can't say that
announcement.
I've ever really played one of his games, but I mean, he's very well thought of. So I mean, anything that he does, you're gonna take with some weight. So
You never played any Metal Gear? I could have sworn you played
no,
some
I
Metal
never
Gear.
did.
Okay. Was it Matthew?
I don't think. No,
Did he
I don't
play
think
it?
ever played Metal Gear.
All right, then I'm maybe just misremembering a bunch of crap. I could have sworn we played it at your house before, but maybe I'm just out of it. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Again, next couple years, who knows if we get any more, like even a title at some point. But yeah, it's nice to see
Silent
him
Hill.
try
Just-
something out, but
just-
we'll see.
I know
Just
how it'll
Silent Hill,
start.
That's all we need.
It'll
Silent
say
Hill.
a Kojima Studios production, a game by Hideo Kojima, directed by Hideo Kojima.
In
Give himself
association
3
with
credits
Guillermo
right
del
off the bat.
Toro, and it's Silent Hill.
Yeah, we'll cross your fingers for it, maybe.
It's not going to happen.
All right, so next one for me. So again, I took the other obvious one, which was Starfield. So we've also covered this one before in past years. Was supposed to be out by the end of the year, got delayed to sometime in 2023. Todd Howard showed up at the end of the Xbox event to show off some gameplay, shared some other details about the game. So we got a little bit of the first-person shooter gameplay. It also looks like there's some third-person stuff to it. It seemed fine. Didn't really blow me away for the shooter aspect, but, that's fine. I think we were shown a very in-depth character creation mode where you can pick your look, choose a background, optional traits, all that stuff's in there. They showed a bit of like mining resources, which pretty much just look like No Man's Sky stuff to me. You can build up a base of operations to have the base gather resources and stuff like that. They showed a pretty cool, what I thought looked pretty cool, spaceship customization. So I don't know how much, like what the other ships look like, if it's just one base ship and you just add little sections to it, or if it's like start from scratch with completely other different spaceships and then build around those, but you can make a spaceship and fly it around, which sounds awesome. They've teased that there are over 100 systems and over 1,000 planets to explore in this universe, which just sounds insane. It seems like a mix between, in my mind, No Man's Sky, Star Citizen, maybe a little bit of Mass Effect thrown in. Just the sheer amount of things to do sounds very overwhelming to me, but I'm just interested to see how this comes together. I would love to be able to have some co-op in a game like this. Just exploring a galaxy that's that big on your own doesn't seem as fun to me. But I'm definitely still interested to see what happens with this and where it goes. Did this hit anybody else's radar?
So I've been waiting for this game for a while, and everything that they've announced actually on this actually to me sounded. I'm like, that's No Man's Sky. That's No Man's Sky. That's No Man's Sky. And in fact, like the 100 systems and 1,000 planets or whatever they said, like No Man's Sky is procedurally generated, so it's got more than that.
Which I think Starfield does the same type of thing. I think they are procedurally generated systems and planets and all that stuff also. So it does seem, you're right, it does seem very much like No Man's Sky.
I feel like it's been done, but like I love Bethesda games, and if it's an RPG, I don't know. It'll be interesting to compare the two, having played No Man's Sky for a little bit. But No Man's Sky is kind of like Ark in the aspect where you feel like that's the only game that you can play. So I feel like Starfield's going to be the same way.
And that's where my hang up kind of is. And I feel like, the No Man's Sky comparison is No Man's Sky started single player only. You weren't able to meet other people online. And then eventually they said, no, wait, everyone wants to play with each other in a spaceship, like with a galaxy that big. So I feel like they have to do this in this game eventually. Maybe not at the start, but eventually maybe make that possible. I don't know.
Starfield 76.
Maybe. Ian, real quick, is this on your radar at all?
It is. The other thing they mentioned, there's only 4 cities, but New Atlantis is, they said, the largest city they've ever created. And Todd Howard always tells lies. Todd Howard is a known liar, so I'm curious what he lied to us about.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. Mike, where do you fall with Starfield?
I'm very interested. It's a Bethesda game, so when it launches, I'm going to wait probably a year until all the bugs are worked out and it actually functions.
Yeah.
Before I play it.
But it is.
Because if they're talking 100 planets or 100 systems, 1,000 planets, you're going to start it up and it's just going to explode.
But this is a Microsoft-owned Bethesda now, so this is their
it should
first
be Game Pass game
collaboration-wise, so maybe they got their playtesters out there, get the bugs squashed.
The Game Pass thing, I'll try it if it's on Game Pass, but if it starts crashing, I'm just going to wait.
Yeah.
I got to wait for the anime mods.
Andy, we'll spin to you. Last game.
Last game I had was Stray. It's about a cyberpunk cat in a cyberpunk world. You play as a stray cat, from what I can tell, in like a cyberpunk Tokyo, and your friends are like robots. It looks like a really interesting game, something that's like sort of off the beaten path, I would say. And it just looked really interesting. It's eye catching. The graphics looked pretty cool. I couldn't tell what sort of like fight mechanics were in it. All like things were chasing the cat, and it just sort of like ran away and whatnot. So I don't know if it's like one of those hide sneak Assassin's Creed type games,
I was gonna say I didn't get the feel that like the cat attacks a bunch of people.
No,
so.
Yeah, and it's just like it's the interactions it did with like a whole bunch of the robots and whatnot. So I feel like I need to see a little bit more, but I think it's actually going to release this October. I want to say it said.
I don't remember the date. To be honest.
But it is this year. But it looked.
I think
it looked to me, like, it wasn't as big and game breaking as Cyberpunk was, and like a little odder, which I tend to sort of go for. So I'm actually pretty excited about this.
I should have, when I saw the trailer, I should have pegged this for you. I don't know why I didn't. Like, to me, I was like, this is not for me, but I should have made the leap to you. Ian, is this in your wheelhouse at all or no?
I'm a little concerned that there seems to only be one walk animation in a game about a cat. That was a little weird. Like, it's literally just the same four-legged walk. Like, there didn't seem to be any variation. I'm curious if that'll change. Just like Call of Duty, they're avoiding that Scorn window. So it's not releasing October 22nd, that area. Just like COD, avoiding it.
Mike Stray, what do you think?
It's something, if I can check it out at some point for cheap, I will definitely check it out. It looks charming.
Tier 3 PS Plus.
I don't remember. Was Stray with the Xbox event or
I don't think it was Xbox
Game Fest, or
the only I saw it was available for PS4 and PS5. So
okay,
so
maybe it was
Sony
the state of play for
Yeah.
PlayStation. Okay, gotcha. Well, I think that's it, right? I think we covered everything, or everything that we felt like covering. Yeah. All right. So that's where we're gonna wrap up, I think, for this one. I don't really know what we're gonna do next. I know there's a couple things in the pipeline that we could talk about. We're gonna take a little bit of a break. I'm on vacation next week, so you're not gonna get an episode next week. So we'll come back with something after that and see what we can get into. But for now, if you've enjoyed the show, please support us. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Give us a share on social media. You can follow or subscribe to the show there. Find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google, Anchor, Stitcher, Amazon. Hopefully anywhere you're finding podcasts, you can find us. Check us out on Facebook, search Bright Guy and Super Friends, or go to facebook.com/BrightGuySuperFriends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that stuff there. Try to email me, brightguysuperfriends@gmail.com. You can send it. I'll check it in 3 years. Hit us up on Twitter, @BGSuperFriends. That I will see. We can respond to that one. Follow me on Twitch, Jedi Bright Guy, Jedi with an I, Bright with a Y. If we decide to do any more live streamed or recorded episodes for the podcast, we will do them there. Feel free to follow if you want to see random gameplay here and there whenever I decide to stream some games. That happens rarely, but sometimes I do it. That's it. On behalf of Andy, Ian, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Score!